For those of you who I have not had the pleasure of meeting, my name is Bruce Morris. I'm the CEO of the TABB Group. We are the publishers of TABB Forum. I would like to start by having each of my panelists take 30 seconds to introduce themselves.
I'm Tim Baker. I lead the financial services practice at Expero. Expero is a sponsor here. We've partnered with OpenFin since 2016, and we build a wide range of custom applications for customers, and we're now in the process of productizing some of the work we've done for those customers.
Hi, I'm Terry Roche, co-founder and CEO at Pegasus Enterprise Solutions. We're deep in the plumbing of data of capital markets, all enterprise workflow. We're aware that there are desktops, but it doesn't matter to us. Prior to starting Pegasus, we built a technology that over 2,000 firms use for enterprise data distribution and acquisition. We provide multi-language, multi-platform API suites to free applications from their platforms, high-speed, high-availability data platforms, end-to-end entitlement controls, data sourcing, and data distribution to enable freedom and choice for capital markets to significantly cut their data costs.
Kim Prado. I'm responsible for capital markets technology at BMO Capital Markets.
Thank you. So, the future of market data delivery. It's a pretty dynamic subject topic. Before we talk about the future, I thought maybe we should level set the conversation and talk about the current state of the market. So, Tim, you want to, from your perspective, you talk about what market data means to you and how you see it today.
Well, I think the market data is the lifeblood of everything in financial services. I think that, frankly, it's not changed in the last 25 years. I think data generally flows from exchanges, is aggregated, and eventually ends up on desktops and thousands of different workflows. But I think the technology is lagging behind what we've seen in our personal life. I no longer rely on a cable provider to bundle up my TV stations. I'm consuming that through a modern interface over fiber to the home, and it frankly doesn't feel like we're quite there in terms of how market data is getting into those workflows.
Kim, you're the consumer. Why don't you go next?
So when you look back at where we were with market data, everything was point-to-point connections, right? You had, when I started in this business, it was all about, the rich ink video screens where each broker was sending in their data separately.
Equivorous.
Right? And then we converted into these, market data distribution platforms and started aggregating all the information. And then what happened is now market data is produced literally everywhere, right? So we went from extreme consolidation to a fragmented environment yet again, with all the fintechs popping up, with the idea of, web crawling and capturing sound bites. I mean, market data comes in all shapes and sizes, right? Whether it's who's reading my research all the way through to what are they reading about and where's that stock trading right now? And what was the last time we talked about that stock, in whatever instance it is. And so how do you tie, literally every piece of information together in real time, in sub-millisecond, And so that's where we are. It's kind of like, I think, Tim, you were touching on it, how you had your cable provider and then everybody comes in separately and you have your Apple TV now, right? But the reality is we've gone from consolidated to fragmented again, and it needs to come back together.
So hold off on the challenges for now, because I'm going to come back to you on that. But Terry, if you could wrap this up on your view of current state of market data.
Well, again, you have a much broader spectrum that you're delivering against, and we're focused entirely on real-time prices for pre-trade trade workflow. You've got a whole panoply of things to pull together. We're focused on high volume, high velocity data. And we're seeing a world in enterprise services of significant incarceration. The market is tied to proprietary APIs. symbologies, data models, restricted commercials that's locked in the businesses. It's been difficult to break free, and there hasn't been, we feel, significant choice in that front office view of how do you source your data efficiently and effectively with choice without having to re-engineer your entire operation.
Great, thanks. So Kim, let's go back to you and let's talk about challenges, pain points that you see as an end user.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest challenge, right, is that now we have too much data, right? It's just overwhelming, and our users need a way to actually access it without realizing they're accessing it, right? Like, you've got to, the days of drilling in for data are gone. Everything needs to be served up directly to the user with an actionable insight. And so when you look at, you know, all these different platforms that have evolved, or websites, just basic websites that have evolved that are useful, I mean, you've got to figure out how to join it all together. I mean, even like just Twitter, right? Like, think about just that. So the biggest challenge is actually bringing it together, but also in a thoughtful way. And so I think that's one of the biggest, you know, goals that we're trying to achieve, is how to, you know, really scale it.
Because there's a lack of orchestration for that, right?
There's
like
no orchestration.
Like the internet
Yeah.
has revolutionized every vertical other than capital markets data.
Correct.
Because there's standards there. Everybody's using TCP/IP, everybody's using HTTP for the publishing and consumption of the data, and there's closed proprietary non-standards in capital markets. And some of us believe that there should be open standards that aren't on a spreadsheet but are tied to utility platforms that the industry ought to be able to leverage, that don't own any data, that is not in conflict with anyone, to enable the type of quality of service for high volume, high velocity data, different qualities of services, different payloads, to be uniformly orchestrated for the benefit of the data originator and the data consumer.
So Tim, based on the challenges from the front end of for the user, how are you going to solve these?
Well, I think the good news is that technology is, you know, moving ahead at such a remarkable rate. And we'll probably talk about AI later or bar, but fact is that the internet's really fast. There's now a lot of data. There's huge amounts of data, but increasingly that data is available via APIs. And if you're a sophisticated hedge fund, you can take that data and you can build things with it. But now that we have much more powerful front-end frameworks, like OpenFin, like we've built at Expero, we can actually assemble solutions pretty much on the fly. So we can take that streaming data via APIs. We have a framework called Connected that can semantically connect data together. In the past, you'd have to pour all that data into a data lake, and you'd have all kinds of ETL processes to connect it together. You still have to do some of that work, but now the browser and containers like OpenFin's containers are so powerful, you can actually do a lot of that work on the fly in a very agile way. What that means then is that you can start to build applications faster. We talked about agility. I think the earlier panel was talking about, I think it was platform, the UI being a platform. We very much feel that the power of the interface should be seen exactly in that way. So it's almost like a barbell now. You don't have to have that intermediary database to kind of prepare your data before you push it into your .NET application. You can now actually do a lot of those calculations, and the user, we talked about no code earlier and low code, the user can now configure their interfaces themselves if they want to. So we're right on the cusp of, I think, a big revolution.
And Terry, from your side, from the back end of the platform, how would you solve these problems?
Well, I don't want to pitch our book, but what we see clients doing, their applications are bound, and we're focused on the application. Their applications are bound by the interfaces and the platforms that they're using from their service providers. And when they want to make a change, it seems like it's a Herculean task to lift this to move to something else. So we took a bank. They had 1,200 connections into a platform. We cut them over in 3 months. They switched to a different platform. They're very, very happy. And they have a freedom that they didn't realize that they had. We had another organization where a major provider, not Bloomberg, who's sponsoring here, because there will always be a Bloomberg, you provide tremendous value. And I actually mean that. There was another data provider. This firm got out of a certain asset class, cut their data down drastically, and the provider said, well, you were really just paying for this little subset of data that's left. So we helped them go to direct source. We standardized all the data, standardized symbology, standardized the data model, cut them over in a couple of months, and they turned off a major data provider and cut substantial amount of fees from their services because they had then newfound agility to have freedom and choice. And that's what we're trying to bring to the market, the ability to choose in any endeavor. You know, when I was learning negotiation, BATNA, what's your best alternative to a negotiated agreement? That's, you know, if you don't have a choice, then you have to take price increases and whimsical changes to your commercial policies. Not that everyone does that, but some do. And choice, freedom is empowering. And that's what we're trying to bring to both market data originators to have a choice and data consumers.
Thanks, Terry. So Kim, hearing what Tim and Terry are saying here, I mean,
I have a contract, if you want.
who at your, you know, what group, constituencies, personas, and within the firm do you see these types of ideas helping?
Yeah, I mean, freedom of choice is always great, right? The more you can normalize, standardize, and be platform independent, the better off you are, especially when there's outages and a million other things going on. But at the end of the day, it's not all about cost, right? Like, cost is important, but access is really important, right? And I think, you know, being able to access data wherever you are, if you're on the road, if you're, you know, on your phone, I mean, that's become more and more prevalent than it used to be. I mean, we still have traders that can work from home, right? You still have traders, you have bankers that are on the road. I mean, we spend a lot of time looking at our global markets, market data, and all the real-time data and all of that. But there's a whole market that most providers are missing, which is I&CB, right? Don't forget about those bankers that are originating deals all day long. They need data too. And guess what? They're creating the data. They're the producers of the data that the secondary desk is ingesting. So if someone could solve that new issue problem out of the gate, that would be drastically useful, right? You were still relying on Bloomberg to enter, you know, a security into their database. You know, it's like 1995. So there's a lot that could be done in that space as well. But I'm a big fan of using interoperability and, you know, ensuring that we leverage as many components as we can across the OpenFin platform and tie things together. One last point is when you look at where we went from just view-only market data down through the electronic trading platforms into fixed income and all of that, and you know, you got to the point where you had your virtual markets and all that extra data coming through all these different providers. I mean, I really don't think anyone has officially solved all of that, right? So it's better, but it's not done. And don't forget your internal data that you need to tie into.
Yep.
So we have a video, short video.
Yeah, sure. So I was told by Mazi we have a minute to do a demo, so I've consolidated 3 demos into one video. But hopefully these make the point we're trying to make. And Terry and I reconnected after many years apart. We were both colleagues at Thomson Reuters. Mazi put us together about 3 weeks ago, and we had this idea. We should take some data that you have, and that we should get it into our product as if it was a real client exercise. So this is basically what we built in a couple of weeks. You can see we're actually tapping into TPI-CAP data. We went for a foreign exchange use case. And so I've now connected to that data, and now all that FX data is available within our application, within the workbench, and you can see I've just fired up spot prices. This grid was already pre-built, so we didn't have to recode anything. We've pulled in a chart, we've pulled in some news from FinTech Studios, and there's the TPI-CAP forward and swap data. And that literally took us, I think, about 2 weeks to build. Yes, it's simple, but it kind of makes the point. Here's another example. We built this in a couple of days, actually. This is a mutual fund screener. It uses the same connected framework, and it's in a slightly accelerated the speed here. But you can see that we've built a very sophisticated screener. And then this is a fully populated equities workbench. There are about 6 or 7 different data sources, all from APIs. There's no back end here. This is all being cached on the fly. And so we've essentially built a mass customizable platform. That platform is a UI. Through our connectivity, the way we pull data through APIs, we can basically mash up and create, applications for the massive diversity of end users that we see across financial services.
So tell me, what about the licensing aspects of this type of content? What are the rules of the road?
It's probably one of the most tricky things. Our going-in view is very much bring your own license. So if a client already has licenses, we've been working with some independent data providers, and we've onboarded them. I mean, the beauty is we can onboard them in a few days, so it's not a big, kind of financial effort for us. But as long as the client has access to a Morningstar license or an IEX license, they can light up the application, and we'll just do a pass-through. I know, Terry, you're thinking about licensing as well.
Yeah, we believe that this should be analogous to going to the Amazon Marketplace, where you have a directory of services, all the commercials are there. Of course, there'd have to be some legal back end, and then it's tied into your entitlements capability. Well, it's
busting your chops.
No, I know it's a carry through because people have existing licenses to these things, and it'll be an extension on how it's delivered. But then it's tied to the entitlements platform that eliminates a massive amount of administration and auto reports internally, and you could, since it's tied into the delivery platform out to the consumer. In some cases, what we do is deliver end-to-end authenticated workflow, so it knows the individual for where the data is going.
With a delivery van for your Amazon service.
Well, we want to be Federal Express.
Yeah.
We don't want to own anything other than delivering people's data.
All right, we have less than 10 seconds, but I think I'm going to try to buy a little bit more here. Just looking in your crystal ball, where's this market data business going? I mean, the script says 5 to 10 years. I think that's an eternity. Let's go like 1 to 3 years out. Kim, you want to go first?
I think the more we can get to self-serve, the better off we are.
Yep.
We could not agree with that more. The industry, the data originators, the data consumers should have full choice. That choice should be as automated and online as possible so that capital markets could catch up with every other industry that operates on the internet.
So I think the market's going to go more federated. There'll be a lot more choice. The big vendors are still going to be there, but people will be able to self-serve. And actually, I think within fewer time than we think, probably 2 or 3 years, we'll be able to say to our computer, I would like this data, and it will go and find it, analyze it, and put it on our screen for us.
Great. Well, panel, thank you very much.
Thanks, everybody.
Mazi and Mitra, thank you very much.